Welcome everyone to the Racist War and Everything. We are on episode 250 now, coming to you one day earlier, so perhaps we might actually have a shorter show for once, as opposed to the over 3 hours that we did last week. But also just three of us here today rather than four. So you're joined by myself, Fenian, and I've got Nolsey and Fluoride here. How's your start of the week going, boys?
Yeah, very pleasant, thank you.
We started off with the Pang live show. Covered a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's good. Had Mr. Milburn from Action Zealandia. We had Callahan. We had Bog for a while. Bog was Bog.
Okay.
Good boy.
Sounds good. I must admit I only just ever tune in for like a couple of minutes and maybe just write Nolsey is gay in the comments and then just leave. That's
fair.
Okay, well, we'll get on to the items of today, and we're going to start off talking about the protest that took place yesterday. We're doing this show Monday, 4th of August, by the way. So this was, of course, in the Sydney CBD. There was a whopping 90,000 people who turned up for what was dubbed the March for Humanity, which, of course, is a call for a ceasefire in Gaza. And many were also calling for sanctions of various forms on Israel. So they had to apply for this. New South Wales Police and the New South Wales government did not want this to go ahead. So this was taken to court, and according to Sky News, it was an activist judge who granted them permission to make this march. Now, when I was reading about that decision being made in court, I read that it was estimated that 50,000 people were going to turn up to the march. I thought, wow, that's pretty big. But you know how many actually turned up? Over 90,000. So it was actually nearly double what they had estimated. I don't know.
I said earlier on the show, like, we had like a debate between like, how many would actually be there or how many were actually there. A lot of the activists, they go on the higher end, they say 300,000. I'm going, well, actually, was it Fluoride? Yeah, you and me, Fluoride, but we're going for the 100,000 plus mark.
Yeah, that seems legitimate. 100,000. It's judging by the source. I think we just watched The Guardian. I think it was their thing on it, and they said 100,000.
The distance, the width, and the packing we were looking at today, and also, Fluoride is a local to this area.
Oh yeah, you would be. I mean, look, I have no way of really knowing. I just saw like the aerial shots, and I mean, man, it was a massive, massive sea of people, no doubt about it. Some pretty big names were there as well. You had Julian Assange. You had former Premier Bob Carr. You had Ed Husic, who, of course, was the Labor minister dumped to the backbench, and now he can.
Bob Carr, but yeah, interesting to see he was still alive. He was coming down with something more.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Carr was an interesting one because Bob Carr was much like Bob Hawke in his Zionism for a long time, and then eventually he just started to quite mildly question the power of the Jewish lobby in New South Wales. And ever since then, the Jews have targeted him. And he basically, if he doesn't consider himself the enemy of Jews, he considers himself the enemy of the Jewish lobby in New South Wales, at least. I think that's fair to say. By the way, have you guys been keeping an eye on Mark Latham's Twitter feed lately?
Why, is it spicy?
Yeah. It's so I'll read the latest tweet that Mark Latham's put out regarding Jews. He says, What has the censorious Jewish lobby done to buy such influence at Sky Jews and the Daily Tel Aviv?
Nicely put.
Finally, he mounts his white horse and draws his saber and slays the demon right through the chest. After so many decades at this point with Mark Latham.
Yeah, and this is at least the second time I've seen him refer to Sky News as Sky Jews. Quite frankly, I'm amazed that his Twitter account is still going. It's been shadow banned, though. And there's a lot of, if you search real Mark Latham, it'll take you to fake accounts that use the same avatar, but they'll spell Mark with like 2 Ks or something like that. There's like several of those accounts. Unless you have to actually type in like at real Mark Latham, make sure you spell it correctly, and then go directly to the page. You don't search for it. That's actually the only way you can get to it, or just type in the URL. So, the censorship is already there. I'm just surprised it hasn't gone all the way and banned him. That's all. But yeah, look, if you're not following Latham on Twitter or X, I really recommend that you do. I did actually reach out to one of his social media pages because I really would love to interview Mark Latham just on the Jewish lobby. And unfortunately, they turned me down. I was glad I got a response at least.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, I figured...
Could be a bushwhacker.
On the convict
do I go in? Do I go in and just pretend to be a nice guy, a good guy?
Get him to sign your petition.
Okay, so look, the police did not want this march to go ahead. I read that it took over 1,000 police officers to facilitate this, and, that would have been a hell of a lot of overtime and stretching of police resources. But the thing is, though, police generally just oppose any kind of protest because it's a pain in the ass for them. It's managing a big group of people. There's a lot of logistics involved, roads being shut down, that kind of thing.
Risk of violence, actual violence. Do you have the clips of the fighting from inside? Because there was a lot of intersectarian violence and also violence against the normal Australian supporters of the pro-Palestinian movement and the social.
Wasn't the most unified of fronts.
No, it was very much a big and angry tent.
Yeah. Because I've been to a couple of these, and I've actually seen quite a few trannies, and there's obviously those trannies are not welcome there by many elements of the protesters. So,
but they stick their dicks into the protest nonetheless.
Yeah, it's not a unified front by any means. And then, of course, you got Nazis like us as well who like to turn up, and hell of a lot of people don't want us there either. So, yeah, that would not surprise me if there was some inner conflict going on there.
They tried to attack Chris Covers as well after he met with our good old friend, Syrian girl.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so they were calling him a fascist. She was. That was the weird thing because I don't think Chris Covers actually knew what he was implying when he showed her, because it was like, oh yeah, I've seen this like anti-fascist protester before. He showed the second picture of her, and she was wearing an Eye of Evil necklace. It's like, oh, Chris, I don't think you know what you've just insinuated.
But yeah, talking about that and bloody regulars to these things, I reckon everybody got shipped from all over the country to do this thing. It wasn't just a case of the local Muslim population of 100,000 people turning out, but people from all over Australia found their way onto the bridge.
Yeah,
it's our version of the 1 million man march.
I only just discovered that Chris Coveries, whatever he calls himself, because he supposedly revealed that black guy with the Hail Hitler T-shirt. He turned up to that anti-Islam rally. Like
was
that
black
black
by
guy.
James Cohen.
He's claiming now that Avi Yemeni supplied him with that T-shirt and paid him $1,000.
That's an obfuscation. He's claiming that Jake Cohen, one of Avi Yemeni's like fucking co-sphere Jewish people. He's a UK-based guy who he just goes on Omegle and trolls people. He's like, oh yes, I'm Jewish, and oh yes, Gazans will die. White replacement is going to happen. Fuck you, all white people, and die. And for
Jerusalem has fallen. Gazans must die.
Yeah, like third temple will happen tomorrow, and Jewish dominance will happen across the world. And he's this like hyper Jewish radical. And for some reason, he's best buds with Avi Yemeni.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at the footage, you can see he calls himself Cole Davis, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. Dang Pow was, I think, it was his original title.
You can see him like repeatedly trying to catch the attention of Avi Yemeni and the cameraman, and then you see him like actually like push his earbuds in, and he goes like, "Yeah, I'm here now." So it looks like he's responding to like instructions that were given to him, and then of course Avi Yemeni
he's instigating.
Yes, and then Avi Yemeni goes, Joel Davis sent him here. He says that to the event organizer, Chris Patterson, I think his name is.
Yep, and they come over to get rid of him.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's
little
all the shopping and everything started. Like everything that happened that day that was physical was like instigated by Avi Yemeni. He just came there and just turned it into
as he stands behind these tall big blokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, again, I went.
Who was a former skinhead, by the way, his security guard.
Yes. Was it tactical? Was that tactical Krav Maga group or tactical defense group or what the fuck?
It was. You said it was the Lions of Israel.
Lions of Zion.
The Lions of Zion. Yes. Yeah, that was the group that it was with. I remember back in the day when Avi and Manny used to actually go around with the camera crew. He could be scared off and run crying to the police, which I've seen him do multiple fucking times. But yeah, now he's got his own little paramilitary company or own little private security company.
Perfectly legal.
Perfectly legal, by the way, to have. They wouldn't be called street thugs or wouldn't be actually under anti-bikie association orders like any bikie enforcer. But, I guess that's fine. I guess Avi is now a bit more confident and can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yep.
Because Avi used to teach Krav Maga, didn't he? Like even Jewish martial arts is fucking dirty. It's all about fucking going for the throat and the balls. That's what Krav
Throat
Maga
balls
is.
have.
Okay. Anyway, now look. Chris Minns, who, as I mentioned, was actually against this march, is warning that, don't consider this open season on New South Wales's major landmarks, such as the Harbour Bridge or the Opera House or whatever, because, they tend to be the landmarks that protesters like to turn up to. If we remember October 9, when they all turned up to the Opera House. And, that's when they were chanting, "Where's the Jew?"
That was reactionary, why they turned up to that. Because they had that big fucking star on the Opera House spinning around saying, this is the way Australia goes. Australia, fall in line behind this symbol.
Right. So apparently it was open season for the Jews to take advantage of Sydney's landmarks. It was okay for them to do it. So I did also read that there was a planned counter-demonstration to what happened today, but they pulled out at the last minute because they were just so over,
there is a bit of a story to that actually, Finian. One of the organizers, one of the chief organizers was the ECAJ, a whole bunch of Jewish organizations, but one of the organizers was, yes, Avi Yemeni. Avi Yemeni bets Chris Covers that he couldn't wear an Australian flag without being assaulted or beaten and etc. In that little group and etc. There were Australian flags in that pro-Palestinian march. Were there many? I'm going to be honest, no, not at all.
No.
But were
You know what I
there
did
some?
see?
Yes. And was the assaulter accosted? Yes, by a woman that he identified as the one who, in a previous protest that he went to, was wearing the evil eye.
They don't have a
And also-
large talent pool.
No, they don't. And also, Avi Yemeni literally, like he said, like, oh, Chris Covers, you know, if you're so courageous about this, go take an Australian flag to the pro-Palestinian side. So he did. And also he met up with a middle-aged woman who was wearing an Australian flag and had these little koala clip-ons on a board saying, like, you know, end the genocide in Gaza. Like,
Fair enough. Australia stands with that. Well, Australia can say whatever the fuck you like because it's not much of a meaningful symbol.
She was an old Anglo-Celtic woman, but Avi Yemeni turned around and said, like, well, if you want to show support for Israel, bring the Australian flag. So he bet a dude to go to the protest that he was countering with the Australian flag, and then held up the stand of saying, like, well, if you're pro-Israel, bring the Australian flag, so you know you're a true patriot and you hate these terrorists.
Hey, I literally heard of this Chris Covers guy yesterday. What is his political affiliation?
It's for us, I'd say center. He's a filming protest dude. Nominally right. I'll say nominally right though.
Okay, but he's definitely not a white nationalist.
No, he's not.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I was only just starting to familiarize myself with his work and his the spat that he has had with Avi Yemeni lately. But I mean, that is like Avi Yemeni's entire output is just like him trying to embarrass people and chasing people down on the street so that his security guard has an excuse to knock them over. Like, that's his whole fucking shtick. It's all he does. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys saw Susan Lee. She had a press conference a few days ago. This is the opposition leader, of course. And she was repeatedly asked by at least two journalists if what was going on at the moment in Gaza constitutes starvation. All she would ever do was say that she was horrified and, was aghast at the kind of photos and images that had been released.
I'm shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
She was also asked if she believed that the Israeli government was responsible for that starvation. And again, she just kept dodging the question every single time.
Probably would have said Hamas if put to a fucking gun to her head.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this comes after. I remember last week we covered Dan Tehan was saying that Anthony Albanese needed to demonstrate how the Israeli government is breaking international law at the moment in Gaza. So you know that the Liberal Party is divided on this. You've got the raging, fire-breathing Zionist philo-Semites like Dan Tehan. But then, you've got Susan Lee, who supposedly represents the moderate faction of the Liberal Party. And, she will be a tiny, tiny bit sympathetic to the Palestinians because she has actually now said, yes, starvation is occurring in Gaza. So she said this: there is hunger and starvation in Gaza. But then, of course, she added that Hamas needed to surrender.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the fault of Hamas that all these people were being bombed.
You made us kill you.
Why do you keep making us kill you? It just keeps happening. You should surrender and it wouldn't happen.
We needed to preemptively strike because we thought we were going to kill you. It's okay because we're the Jews. Israel Chai. Rathbone is an insufferable communist twat, but I will give him that. His little breakdowns of the Israeli conflict and honestly the Jewish mindset to a degree are on point.
Yeah, but look, this is nowhere near good enough for the Sky News boomers, though. Sky News has been very critical of Susan Lee taking this approach because you think about it, it's essentially the same as what Anthony Albanese has been saying. He was like, everything is really bad over here, but, a Palestinian state has no future with Hamas involved. And that's pretty much what Susan Lee is now saying. And remember, this is the kind of rhetoric that Rabbi Shmuley thinks should actually have you banned from entering the United States. So even just taking this, just conceding that little bit of ground for Susan Lee is putting her at odds with the extreme Zionists within the Liberal Party and the conservative media. So, talk about a tenuous leadership. I got to wonder how long Susan Lee is going to last in the job. I mean, obviously it's still early days. Yeah, we only had the election in May, but still, I'm just wondering if this issue, along with net zero, will just be her undoing.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be because of her position on Gaza that they get her openly, but it will be the reason.
So, Anthony Albanese is saying that Australia would recognise a Palestinian state, or at least last week what he said on the Insiders program was the Labor Party would recognise a Palestinian state in time. And there are two conditions. Well, he says that there are two conditions that need to be met. One, all the hostages are released. Yeah. And two, a governing body for a Palestinian state would not encompass Hamas. So
there we go. Again.
Yeah, knew exactly that's how it was going to go. Those were the conditions. And then we shall stop starving you all to death.
Oh, bombing you all to death at this point, because they're still doing the bombings, by the way.
Yep, it's hand in hand. Buddy, did you see that fucking thing on the bloke basically filtering muddy water? Got this big old piece of clay, fucking filters it once by squeezing it, and then uses a little drip thing to get it into a glass. Oh, those poor fucking people.
There are images far worse than that malnourished 1-year-old child, I know that's the one that's gone viral. And of course the Israeli government are saying oh, no, he actually has some disease that's making him go like that. And then they point out, oh, well, look at his mother. She looks well fed. So maybe she's just not feeding him enough food. They're saying shit like that.
God.
If you go to Syrian Girl's site, once I saw this by accident. She posted a video of a girl with her jaw hanging off because part of her face had literally been blown off by a bomb. And so, there's gore porn out there that is way worse than that child, if you're into that kind of thing.
Yep.
There's images far more disturbing.
Those hospital bombings. When they just
it'd be good while to be a war photographer if you were to airdrop in there now, a week ago, 8 months ago, a year ago. But unfortunately, I think the risk of you being torn limb from limb and cannibalized by the starving is, it's increasing.
Yeah. ABC was saying that much of the reporting that they're actually giving us now are just from aerial shots. They're not embedding their journalists within Gaza because they just can't guarantee their safety.
Does that happen in any other war zone?
I mean, if you can't guarantee safety in the line to pick up aid or in a hospital or something, well, where can it be guaranteed? It just can't. Anywhere.
Not even in a church.
Even in a church, in a mosque, whatever. Literally nothing is safe there.
Oh, I imagine if there was a temple that existed there, it would be perfectly bloody safe.
So the UN General Assembly is due to meet in September. And while that goes on, several countries that are members of the UN are going to formally recognize a Palestinian state. Now, that now includes more Western countries. So recently, Canada and France said that they will do so. The UK government said that they would do so if, by September, the Israeli government had not taken substantial steps to reduce the suffering in Gaza.
So that can mean literally anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how exactly they define it, but look, according to Boris Johnson, the former Tory Prime Minister, he's saying that this is just a stunt by Keir Starmer to maintain the voting bloc of Muslims in the UK.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an element of that. Who knows? But it's not just the Muslim vote. It's just the vote. It's just the UK electorate, including a lot of conservatives, particularly younger conservatives who are not sympathetic to Israel.
Again, I was making this point earlier today. I was going to say that you don't get those numbers in Sydney. You don't get those numbers in protests, even though, like, yes, there are so many Arabic flags and there's so many Arabic sects. You don't get those numbers without at least the general population of both of those countries, which in both cases are Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Celtic, etc. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
The entire world finds it disgusting.
Yeah, they do. And, there might have been a time where pockets of society believed the Israeli government when they said that Hamas was using civilians as human shields or they're ransacking aid trucks and stuff like that. I don't think they believe them anymore.
The War of Terror era?
It's been going on for so long, and the same lies keep being told again and again. That people just say, like, no, I don't believe this anymore. So that could possibly mean that Australia may even recognise Palestinian statehood at this General Assembly meeting that's happening in just over a month.
Well,
certainly.
Sorry to be a bummer, but we recognised Syrian statehood, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't stop us from fucking with them from all means, from Turkey through to...
Here's the argument, and this is sort of goes on to our next story. I saw Julian Leeser, who's the Shadow Attorney General, I believe now, on Sky News, and he was saying, like, look, it's very unorthodox to recognise a state before it's actually come into being. And so he's trying to just make a technical argument, the idea that, the apparatus of government in Palestine is so minimal that you can't really define it as a state. And it's like, yeah, but that's because Israel won't let them, I mean, yes, obviously it's hard to have a functioning government when the occupying power blows the shit out of your infrastructure every day.
Yeah, where are you gonna establish your assembly? Fucking a B2 will hit it.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you as a contemporary man, and also like Finian, we have to remove you from this conversation because you're a terrible Mick bastard, but would you as a contemporary man not recognize the Irish Republic now, knowing what was happening on the ground back in the day?
Right. Yes, good point. No, I mean, a lot of Irish nationalists refuse to recognise the Irish Free State, if people know that history, because it conceded too much ground to the UK. And
the North Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that's one of the only places in fucking English territory you're allowed to have a weapon to defend yourself.
I will say this, and this is actually it's a fault of the Scottish, really. And also, like a sign of like, oh yeah, like is migrating people to your area like a big problem? The north of Ireland has so much Scottish admixture or Pictish admixture that they are both ethnically different and also religiously different, so they were non-admissible. So there was like this grand idea of multiculturalism of different ethnicities and different religions. You get two ethnicities that are damn near close to each other, and two religions that worship literally, well, the same, and I'm not going to fucking deal with the theologians, the same sect of God, and they are still separate to this day, with incredibly intelligent, incredibly educated people on both sides.
Yeah.
Like,
we're getting a little sidetracked, though.
Yes, sorry.
I love talking about Northern Ireland, but this is not really the forum. But look, here's something from the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. The head of their legal, they have like a legal spokesman, so Simone Abel. So she said that there is difficulty in recognising a state that has no legitimate effective government capable of exercising control that our government can engage in relations with. Yeah, but again, it's like that's Israel's fault. Israel simply won't allow them to do that. So in that case, that would basically mean that it would never be possible to recognize a Palestinian state. You just couldn't do it because Israel would be.
That's the point why they keep killing them. That's the point where they keep murdering anybody who comes into a position of leadership in fucking Gaza.
Right. So the only way you can do it is to do it prematurely. You have to do it before actually a real functioning state has actually established itself. That's what Canada is recognizing. It's what France is recognizing, and it looks like even the UK will as well. And so, look, a lot of commentators are saying this may well push Australia into that fold because, it's different now. We're talking about many, many Western democracies. And this is three of the most recent ones. Previously we had like Ireland and Denmark and, plethora of other European nations that are recognized. Yeah, but, oh, man, come on. But what about all the useless ones who refuse to recognize it, like Papua New Guinea?
Oh, yeah.
Like those Pacific Islander
bloody handout nations.
Yes,
in terms of the Schengen zone, like
Israel and the United States to vote a certain way,
and so cheaply. In terms of the portions.
In terms of the Schengen zone, France is now the first big player, quote unquote, to actually say yes. That's there is a Palestinian state.
Surprise Pikachu! Amazing. Clap.
France does something right for once.
Okay, so in Victoria, the Victorian Labor Party moved a motion to recognise a Palestinian state.
Right.
The Australian makes the note in this article that this is a gesture that even many Arab leaders have refused to make. Yeah, you mean the bribed ones, right? Who are also recipients of large amounts of American aid. When the Jewish lobby points out that like Egypt gets about the same amount of aid that Israel does, that's not even true itself. But if you just go by the amount of aid that is given to them, it's just bribe money, so that they don't do things like recognize a Palestinian state and will actually cooperate with the Israeli government,
or even so they'll make those refugee camps. At the start of the conflict, they said, "Oh, we're making all these refugee camps that they can all move into out of Gaza and never come back from."
Yeah,
I think they might have gotten bombed or something.
Again, like when Palestine was actually like a decently sized state and an actual state, the Brittle Lake deal basically secured like, oh yeah, by the way, like if all you neighboring Arab countries don't support the Palestinian state ever and don't attack Israeli ever, and some of them did, Egypt, for example, one, you'll get paid out of subsidies. Two, you'll get royalties on whatever oil we extract from the region. Now, granted, there was enough oil in fucking Saudi Arabia and the UAE to cover all of this money. But yeah, outside of that, it's just it's printed US dollars that just they're thrown around the region.
So look, this motion in Victoria also included imposing sanctions on members of Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet. So it looks like Victorian Labor is just going that extra mile when it comes to how harsh they are on Israel. Remember that the Australian government does actually have sanctions on militant settlers in the West Bank. They're the ones who literally machine gun down Palestinians and take over their land in the West Bank. So we do actually sanction them. We also
so those particular people, huh? Just those particular people.
Just those particular people. Yeah, just individuals.
So they have to go to they have to go into town to get their stuff, and then pay to ship it out to their settlement an hour and a bit away.
They can't import it directly from bloody Australia.
Wow, that's so weird. They have to go to a company inside of the city and just pay a little bit extra. Man, that's a devastating sanction.
Okay. Oh, I love this story. I tweeted on this earlier. So, the Hindu lobby, the Hindu Council of Australia, is saying that the failure to combat the rise in anti-Semitism in Australia has in fact empowered racists to attack Australia's Indian population. Okay, now they're making the point that there is a Jewish envoy and there is an Islamophobia envoy, but there is no envoy for Hindu-phobia. And yes, they do use that term.
Please, sir.
So we said
please,
there is hate
envoy, please.
And there's hate against Jews. But the government has appointed envoys. So when there's any problem, they can talk to the envoy, and envoys can suggest strategies to government, as the Jewish envoy has done. But there's nothing for Hindus, and we face a large amount of hate. Well, look, this is Surinder Jain, head of the Hindu Council. If you're experiencing any kind of, anti-Hindu hate, first of all, it's not anti-Hindu. It's anti-Indian, okay? And the reason why anti-Indian attacks or sentiment have been on the rise in Australia is because of Indians. It's got nothing to do with anti-Semitism, okay? It's not emboldening anyone. If anything, it's the opposite, considering the amount of laws that have passed since the so-called rise in anti-Semitism. You guys are flooding our fucking country and taking our jobs and causing all manner of road accidents and sexual assault in this country. If you want to actually know where this sentiment is coming from, you might want to take a look in the mirror. It's funny how these groups...
Or maybe get someone to smell you.
They never actually take any responsibility. There is never any responsibility taken for their own group. Has it ever actually occurred to them this might actually be because of the behavior of Indians?
They blame it on the lower cost. In fact, I was even talking to the Mr. Milburn today about his experience in IT, and he said hey, look, dealing with Indians in IT. They set up a caste system, and obviously if a new Indian gets hired and he's of a higher caste, they just basically promote him instantly from new hire to whatever management position to make sure he's on top of the other caste. The thing is, Indians, because they do have a caste system, a functioning to this day caste system, they just blame it on the lower caste. Oh no, it's the caste below me, and etc. I did actually get into a heated gamer moment with an Indian gas worker, petrol pump worker a little bit ago. I said, "What do you think of the deletes?" And he said, "Oh God, I wouldn't touch them. I wouldn't touch them. They're shit workers." And this dude was blacker than an African.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God." Indians.
All right, so look, apparently, well, not apparently, actually, I think I saw the photos of this. So on July the 13th, there was attacks in Boronia, anti-Indian graffiti and an image of Hitler were painted on the walls. Yeah, I saw
where the best word was censored.
Do we have a picture of that?
Said, it said like brown cunt go home or something. I saw something.
It didn't say cunt.
No, what did it say?
It started with N.
Okay. Well, anyway, this was at some Hindu temple, and they found graffiti at shops and stuff as well. It's not much. They're just citing like a handful of things here, and they're just talking about graffiti. There's no vandalism.
Is this a case of, hey, Brahma, what you doing? Because I guess if they do the ever-loving shit out of that, then we may get laws against against what you doing laws.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Because at the moment, it's a victimless crime of hey, what you doing? Your own place of worship.
Indians love saying they're like the Jews' best friend, don't they? I mean, yes. With the exception of the United States, India would have to be like the most pro-Israel nation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll give it to them.
They may well just be learning these tricks from the rabbis as to how to instigate benefits for yourself by starting false flag operations. And but
they may be less competent, like Jesse Smollett, when he did the whole nooses and bleach routine. Got those blokes from the Congo to attack him while wearing MAGA hats.
Jussie Smollett.
That's it.
Yeah, that was great. That was like as soon as that happened, I remember like white nationalists were calling that out, saying, "No, this is fake. It's got to be fake."
I have no idea about the circumstances of it, but I'm putting all my clout coin on you made it the fuck up.
Yeah, and guess what? We were right. As we usually are. Just like the caravan, bombing. Or
the one that was so bad it got an AFP officer
only
retired.
People who were saying that was fake was us. We were the only ones saying that. And then we were right. Okay. All right. So the Adas Israel Synagogue in Melbourne. Now, this was the firebombing that occurred apparently at like 4:30 in the morning, and there were like 3 Jews there. What you would be doing at a synagogue at 4:30 in the morning is beyond me.
Praying and making sure like all the valuable stuff stays in here, but also gets transported to my family so it burns up. But also I burnt my hand on the door.
That's right. Yeah. So again, this is one of those events where guys like us were saying this is probably not real. I mean, in the case of like other acts of vandalism that turned out to be legitimate, arrests were made in like a matter of hours or maybe days. In this case, this happened last year, I believe, didn't it? The Adas Synagogue, I think, was last year. It was many months ago anyway. And so they found one guy. Now, his name is Giovanni Lalu, who is 21 years
December
old.
last year.
December, okay. So Giovanni is obviously an Italian name, but they also said that he sported a thin moustache and a small beard. So it's like he actually had like the Italian painter look or something. I don't know. But look, I do find this very unusual that they've only just made an arrest after that many months.
Sacrificial lamb.
This guy. And this might just be some guy who has been paid off to take the rap for it. Or, I don't know, it's mistaken identity. It could be a range of things. But to be honest, I never thought they were going to arrest anyone over this. And remember how much money they got from this. They got a payout from the government. They got an insurance settlement. And they also got over $1 million in public donations. It was a triple whammy. So they've got more than enough money to place. Yeah. It turned out to be a great money-making scheme for them in the end, but apparently we've got someone now.
Well, I guess it does look suspicious this whole time, not having anybody, so small price to pay. I'm paying someone to take the route.
Only only basically lawfare being done on the other side. I understand, certain Islamic communities can be highly volatile and hyper-reactive and incredibly impulsive, sometimes genetically, but it was still suspicious at the time. It's like, okay, this is being done at the exact right moment that it should be done for a political nightmare for the anti-Israel cause. Okay, that's weird. And we said that at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so look, I'm thinking maybe nothing will transpire from this. This guy may have just been brought in for questioning to make it look like at least police are investigating it. And, he might just be quietly let go later with no charges laid. That's sort of what I'm leaning towards anyway. I think that's probably what will happen because they just won't have anything on this guy. Because, police very often will perform operations just as a way of justifying money that's been given to them, like funding for a particular activity, or if it's public pressure for them to be doing something about a certain problem. And there's no better example than them harassing white nationalists, because with all the extra money that is put into ASIO and the AFP and local policing and everything to target white nationalists, they have to do things like raid your house for 8 hours to look for a video of you raising your arm on an angle. That probably doesn't exist. Yeah, that doesn't even bloody exist. So this just might be an example of that. It doesn't look good that after all these months, the police haven't made a single arrest. So now they probably, I don't know, have basically just made something up and said, oh, look, see, we arrested someone, we're questioning them, we're doing our job. And you may well have just had nothing to do with it at all.
You might want to roll that into the new AFP story.
We've got, we'll get to that a bit later. We've got some crime news to cover. All right, look, we'll go to the economy right now, and we may have heard that Donald Trump did say that the baseline tariff on Australian goods is going to remain at 10%. You might remember that he was floating the idea of raising it to 15 or even to 20%. But the Labor Party is claiming a victory here because they're not raising it, or at least not for now. And they're crediting that with the trade tactics they have been using. In other words, the allowance of US beef to be imported into the Australian market. Now, the Nationals are not really happy about this, and they're pushing for an inquiry into this decision to import US beef. They're saying that the government ignored its own scientific advice while they made the decision. Now, yeah, we covered this last week, and it's a bit questionable as to whether or not the kind of hygiene standards have been met by the US government, because that was the reason given for us not importing that beef. There were just certain health standards, etc., that were not being met. Therefore, we would refuse it, and it seemed like a very, very fast decision. Right after Donald Trump launches his trade war and says that his disagreement with Australia was over US beef, that all of a sudden, hey, now it's legal. Now you can sell it to us. So, that's suspicious. Now, the Nationals, of course, would have an ulterior motive because, well, they also support the ban because it's a form of protectionism. They're supposed to look out for local farmers.
Why do we need American beef? We got plenty of it here.
So they want to protect the Australian beef industry, which is fair enough. And yeah, you do have to ask that question, like, why do we need US beef when we've got our own supply? We've got plenty of it. I don't get that, you know.
Well, it's good to see them doing their due diligence. However, I see this as being way too political for them to get a truthful answer that, yes, this beef is shitty.
Well, actually, in all fairness, there's still like a large percentage of beef manufacturing or like beef ranch places that are still not privately owned. Especially in the dairy belt over here. There's some parts in Queensland. There's some sections in the south of New South Wales, and then obviously in the north of Queensland, north of Victoria. Sorry, but yeah, there's. I think it might be the final stage of small market breaking in Australia.
Good, well put, actually.
Although that we've been raped by West Farmers, Coles, and I guess Aldi to a degree.
Yep, supermarkets.
So they're also saying this might be part of Albo's plan to finally secure a face-to-face meeting with Donald Trump. I don't know why everyone is so keen for this to happen.
That's tens of billions, so yeah, that probably should do it.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Okay. Yes. So the Productivity Commission wrapped up a report recently. They have called for a 20% tax rate on profits for companies that have revenue up to $1 billion. They also call for a 5% tax on net cash flow rather than profits. And so that would have the effect of large companies paying a higher rate, but at the same time, smaller companies would receive tax relief.
All right.
Now, the government has not announced whether or not it is going to be implementing these recommendations. They're simply just put out there for discussion for now. A lot of other sectors of the economy have their own ideas as well. One of them is the ACTU, Council of Trade Unions. Sally McManus was on Insiders yesterday talking about this. So she wants new or higher taxes across negative gearing and capital gains tax in property, as well as new rates on resources, family trusts, and wealthy Australians. And this would apparently generate an extra $25 billion worth of revenue for the government each year. Now, as you can imagine, the business lobby does not agree with this at all. They say the ACTU is disconnected from reality and has made a magic pudding. Nice language there.
Yeah, this is more the Labour I was expecting. The one prior, it sounds like a very liberal scheme of big businesses and all that. But, to be, for the interest of the small business, starter-uppers and all that. But this second thing seems very Labour-like.
Yeah, it's very old Labor, you could say, because the amount of revenue they're proposing here is actually much, much higher than the changes that were offered by Bill Shorten back in the 2019 election. So remember, they wanted to make changes to franking credits, and there was also talk of them reforming negative gearing laws. Yeah, but what the ACTU would propose is actually going way, way higher. It's a very high tax proposal. So, and no, I can't imagine Labor actually implementing something that radical. Now, in regards to state government revenue, Uber, they've been ordered to pay $80 million in payroll tax. Oh no, sorry.
Good luck.
It is going to be.
What?
It is going to be decided in the High Court. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good luck.
So look, the New South Wales government did have a win though. So it was previously ruled that there was a right for Uber to not pay its payroll tax, like at all.
Why? Because these are all contractors.
I'm thinking that might be what it is, yeah, because they always say that, they don't have employees, they have independent contractors.
They require you to have an ABN to actually join their service.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I just find it ridiculous. Like, if you don't actually, own and operate your own business, there should be no need for you to have an ABN. If you're just driving a car, who cares if you provided the car yourself? You're an employee.
You have a logo and a slogan with your name attached to it? No, you're not a business owner. You are a contractor to a point, and then also you're a employee after that point.
Right. Yeah, so the court in New South Wales overturned that so-called right of them not to pay the payroll tax. So that's going all the way to the High Court now. Yeah, interesting. Back in the day, I remember when Uber first hit the market, everyone was going on about how they were heroes and making things better for ordinary people by providing such cheap ride-sharing options.
Mm-hmm.
And, that may have been true for the first few months, or maybe the first year they were on the market.
But it was a come-in spinner.
Yeah, they changed very quickly. They ended up introducing surcharges, like if you want to get a ride on a Friday night or something. And, now their rates are really kind of on par with just the normal taxi service. And on top of that, they're ripping off their employees. So, typical example of just like a company sort of weaseling its way in to a market. And once they've established themselves, just becoming your average psychopathic corporation. They follow.
I love it. I want to see more of this. I want to see more exploitation of human life, and I want to see more reasons to import more people who are, completely accustomed to being exploited in this way, because to them it's just a greater form of life.
They do it with they've been doing it for fucking ever with gas station attendants.
Okay, so talking about the unemployment rate in Australia, we've covered that the recent figures are 4.3%, which is an increase. The previous rate in the last quarter, I think, was 4.1. But we found that private sector job growth has actually, collapsed, as the Australian puts it in this article. Now, at the same time, most of the new jobs that have been hitting the market in recent months are actually government-funded, public sector jobs. Now, typically, the private sector provides around 2/3 of all jobs, but it's becoming even more lopsided now with a bigger public sector.
I know that fractional displacement between private and public has been going around since the 80s in this country, but again, to that degree, it used to be 1 to 1 to 3. Now it's 1 to 2. Now it's yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, it says 82% of all jobs created over the past 2 years were government-funded positions.
1 to 5.
18%. 18% of bloody old jobs were people who weren't getting money back from the government for doing their jobs. Huh?
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you, taxpayers.
All right, let's move on to housing. All right. So in the Byron Shire, which I believe is in New South Wales, yeah, it is.
Yep, right near Lismore.
Right. They've said that teachers, police, and other key workers who are looking to move to the Byron Shire will be offered accommodation in pods. Yes, literally, they will be living in pods. Now, originally, these pods were built as temporary places of shelter for people who survived the 2022 floods. Okay? But now, apparently, they're good enough for people working full-time jobs with regular lives to simply live in every day.
A bunch of demountables in some paddock somewhere.
Yeah.
Or I guess they got their foot in the door and now, fuck. I guess that's the future. It's not a good place to be in. Bloody expensive as all get out around there. But yeah, I guess that's. I imagine they'll be paying an arm and a leg to live in these fucking things, though.
Well, the mayor,
or
Byron
300,
Shire,
500 bucks a month.
They said it's
a menace.
fantastic news, and that it's offering a lot in relieving housing stress that has been felt by residents around there.
Yep.
So,
get some old hippies who don't want to open up any of their property. They know it's worth $1 billion and they want $2 billion for their property.
Yeah, so this is why we need to crash the housing market.
With no survivors.
Yes.
We just need to we need to absolutely fucking crash it so that these old boomers lose the value on their properties and are more likely to sell up.
Oh, old boomers, I hope you invested a lot in your kids because, yeah, when it crashes, that's all.
Oh, wait. Honestly, like, as someone who's like does have a house as a part of like, you know, boomerisms and boomer deaths, I'm completely on board for this because I see the rest of like that part of the family say, oh god, you know, like you know, these users are so lazy, and I'm just watching you get slowly closer to the grave. I'm thinking, oh well, you did sell your house to a whole bunch of fucking Indians, didn't you? Shit, you did. Okay.
Okay, now another finding of the recent productivity commission report was that apparently in Queensland, falling productivity on building sites has contributed to more than 70,000 homes not being built. So, yeah, I mean, despite record immigration into this country, we still have falling productivity on building sites, including the construction of new houses. It's funny that, but then we keep getting told that we actually need to import more people so that we'll have the trade skills necessary to build those houses in the first place. Well, why hasn't it been working so far, despite record amounts of people?
I think it's working exactly as intended.
For some reason, we keep increasing the demand for housing in this country without actually importing people who are able to build those houses. It's funny how that works. Okay, let's move on to industrial relations. So in Victoria, Jacinta Allen has announced that they will enshrine into law your right to work from home. So that means at least 2 days a week from home.
Never mind.
So maybe, you know, she's somewhat capitalizing on that reaction against the federal Liberal Party when I think it was their finance spokeswoman, Jane Hume, was talking about how like working from home was sort of like a luxury that people were demanding be a right, you know, and she wanted to take that away from a lot of public sector workers. The Liberal Party actually ended up abandoning that position, and it did look like they were sort of talking down to public servants over that, calling them entitled and lazy. And so, yeah, it looks like Victorian Labor have gone in the opposite direction here. So look, what I do like about work from home is that, well, you are actually able to spend more time with your family. You cut out commute time, things like that. That does make it more convenient. The thing I don't like about it, though, is that working from home means working by yourself, which is not great for your mental health. But it depends on how often you do it. 2 days is probably okay. But, I've met a lot of people who do all of their work from home. And they will tell you that it's incredibly isolating and that it's not good for them. Even though it may be convenient, it's not good for them.
So how does that work? Do they put in the hours of from here to here?
It's office administration and programming. That's about it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're sitting there and they're basically, all right, I'm in at this hour, and then I stop being at the desk at this. I can go make a cuppa and all that, but I'm basically on the clock at all times to be here for putting through bloody EXL spreadsheet and filling out data stuff.
Normally, there's some custom software that monitors that. That's why those mouse scrollers are made. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I would like to say, yeah, isolating and all that at home. However, you do have time to make up for the end of the day stuff. That, and I'd say it's pretty isolating either being in a car or on public transport. Even though you're among people, you are completely bloody alone sitting there. So, yeah, I would poke at that, but I would also say you have more preparatory time to actually do your end of day stuff rather than spend that end of day stuff on your transport to and from work.
Yeah, well, I'd say that. Also say, yeah, it'd be ashamed because when you're driving alone, you are driving with Hitler.
Good point. Maybe people should get back to work and fill up those highways some more. Then we can really notice how bad the populations get when it comes to bloody clogging up these roads.
To be fair, it's more so about getting the white collar class out of the rat race, so they don't notice the pain or the sting of the entire system failing around them.
Yep. Or when you have to go to northern Sydney and the whole fucking bridge is clogged up with people having a walkabout.
So
why not notice the protest when you can be happy?
In Queensland, the police union were threatening to have its members go on strike. And we know the police will do that. Not like all of them at the same time, but, they'll do things like refuse to operate speed cameras and,
revenue raising things.
Yeah, the typical revenue raising things that, hurt the government. They'll decide to kind of blockade those activities. However, it looks like they have reached an agreement. So this includes a minimum pay rise of 3% from this year, followed by a 2.5% hike in July next year, and a 2.5% rise in July 2027. That includes an $8,000 retention bonus to be paid to general duty officers. And apparently this offer is worth around $540 million, which is the largest ever secured for the Queensland Police Service. So, yeah, I guess when you threaten the government's revenue-raising activities, you can get them to the negotiating table, it looks like.
The bloody nurses didn't get anywhere near this, right? Fuck me, did.
No, they didn't.
And they were saving people's lives. These are people getting out there in order to bust skulls.
The teachers are not getting what they want either. Now, they have actually voted in favour of a strike action. I'm not sure what the details are, in terms of what they were asking for. but they haven't actually taken any industrial action since 2009. So they're getting serious now. And yeah, teachers are another lot that they will go on strike.
Well, I guess they want to get this through while they still got a Labour government in. That's not going to fly, and they'll be the bloody police will take them back into school to teach kids. Fuck.
Oh, there's no Labour's not in power in Queensland.
Oh, what the fuck am I talking about?
No, I mean it was only recently David Crisafulli won. He's the LNP premier now. Not that he has been very encouraging. He's been, in fact, very disappointing, except for a handful of like law and order measures. Now also,
will this, just a quick question, will the Queensland things actually change everywhere, or just Queensland's conditions for teachers?
Oh no, this is strictly Queensland.
Yeah,
it's just state issue. Yeah. So I remember last week we mentioned that there was an inquiry into the Queensland CFMEU, but it got expanded to the entire construction industry in Queensland. Now, I mentioned that I think that this is fake. I don't think they are targeting the entire industry. They're just doing this to make it look like they're not obsessing over the CFMEU. Now, funnily enough, the Deputy Premier, Jared, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Beligi, maybe, he actually admitted that he had an obsession with the CFMEU. And this is a very common trait you find with Liberal Party members, or Liberal Party politicians, I should say, is they always seem to have this weird obsession with like smashing the CFMEU. It's happened for decades. So
I guess they see it as a popular.
Something just to support my theory that no, this is simply just an inquiry into the CFMEU and nothing more, is that it's turned out they have handpicked a King's Counsel named Stuart Wood to chair this inquiry. And who is this man? He is a donor to the Liberal Party. Okay, so
wow.
Isn't that what you call a conflict of interest and therefore should not be permissible?
Well, see, he didn't recuse himself, so he must be fine.
So it also reminds me when there was the Royal Commission into the construction industry back in 98 or something. This is John Howard. The guy who presided over that Royal Commission was Terence Cole, who was actually a university friend of John Howard's. So, these inquiries are clearly political and partisan, and it blows me away that they're allowed to go ahead without the checks and balances. And, I mean, how much money do these cost? I know that Royal Commissions always cost like tens of millions. This would be less considering it's just a state inquiry, but still, usually what these inquiries do is just give you a list of recommendations that the government never even implements. So they're just a waste of money. Okay. So let's move on to climate and energy. And again, the Productivity Commission report had plenty to say about climate and emissions reductions. So not a surprise that they're saying that the current trajectory will not take us to net zero by 2050, nor will it take us to going 82% green by 2035, which of course is the other target the Labor government has committed to. Now, it has also recommended that the Climate Change Authority Chair be given increased powers to enforce green energy regulation. Now, who is that Climate Change Authority Chair? It's Matt Keane, the former Treasurer of New South Wales. and largely considered to be a Liberal Party traitor. He was the guy who said that the natural home for the teals should be the Liberal Party. But of course, the Liberal Party is run by a bunch of rabid right-wing conservatives. And they've driven all of the teals out of the party. Anyway, the Productivity Commission report plans to accelerate the green energy transition in Australia. And
again, I've been going through the notes. How?
Well, okay, so it says here that it would replace Matt Keane in charge of reviewing the government's progress on adoption policy every 2 years, with the report citing the authorities' arm's-length relationship to government as its key strength. So what exactly they're proposing here, we don't know. It could be levies, I guess. It could simply be, hey, you're not meeting emissions reductions targets, therefore you've got to pay a lot of money. That's just kind of how the carbon credit system works. But whatever way you want to look at it, it's giving the government more power to force green energy changes upon us, which is no surprise.
As well, it's like the biggest investors in the entire country, international and both domestic, are invested in green energy fully since the late 1990s. And now it's just government policy, a big delay 30 years later.
Otherwise, the government will sue itself for not meeting its own target.
All right, so another recommendation is that the government should dramatically broaden its key emissions reduction scheme to capture more heavy industry and place more administrative costs on it to drive down greenhouse gas emissions. Well, there you go. Basically just disincentivizing emissions. So again, this is what we used to call like a price on carbon or a tax on carbon. We don't officially have that anymore, but we do have measures like this, and we have carbon credits, and we have the safeguard mechanism that forces a lot of these big companies to pay for how much they emit. And all of that also
speculate on how much that costs.
It translates into government revenue as well.
Again, like we've introduced another fucking currency, the carbon coin. Get in the ground floor for the carbon coin. Actually, I think the first time that I was a guest on this show, I did say like, hey, look, when it comes to green energy, like one of my professors, when it came to thermodynamics, said like, hey, look, it's all kind of fucked up. We're fucking up the earth in like all kinds of other ways that aren't exactly CO2, that aren't exactly global warming. That's more so like, reduction of usable, forest land, reduction of usable land, reduction of arable land, reduction of usable irrigation water. But they actually did predict that like there would be a coin that big companies would speculate on to figure out if they could fuck this shit up or not. And we're here.
We are. Well, here was another recommendation by the Productivity Commission. They want the use of gas to be minimized over time.
There we go. Of course, the LNG.
Yeah, so we're told that while we transition to green energy, we're supposed to get off coal and use gas, but that's only temporary, and we need to wean off it over time. And that's why, like in the ACT, for example, you can't construct a new house with gas appliances, like a gas stove or something. Those houses have to be built with electric appliances.
Again, speaking to the New Zealanders this morning, I guess this morning for Americans, or really midday for us. Mr. Milburn was talking about the new, requirements for installation to New Zealand houses, and apparently it's nearly like 278 millimeters of R for battens.
Big bats, team.
Big bats.
Pink
So
bats.
apparently, yeah, they're trying to basically say like, oh yeah, people can't pay for the heat, people can't pay for the hospital bills. So instead of like pneumonia or etc., we're just gonna like make people buy houses with higher ends of battens and etc. So they're more insulated. But apparently they're unlivable in the summer.
Yeah, well, they are livable in the summer. He was talking about the housos routines they've got going over there, and what you need to do is in the summer have air cons running 24/7. Otherwise, you melt in 30 degrees of just indoorness. So there you go. Kind of a worthy scheme of making a well-insulated housings, but for winter especially. But yeah, when you need to turn the air cons in order to cool the fucking place down, you get fucked.
It's like, a lot of like homeless people, if they manage to actually gather together enough coins, they'll buy themselves an all-day train ticket, and that's just so they can, have an air-conditioned space rather than be outside in the searing heat all the time.
Yeah.
So you see him on the trains every now and then. Okay. Right. So our resources minister, who is now Madeleine King, she was launching a major industry report revealing an integrated East Coast carbon capture and storage network that could apparently add $66 billion to the economy and support more than 15,000 new jobs. So this, I assume, has to be part of the Future Made in Australia scheme, which is about turning Australia into a manufacturing hub for green energy products. And we're going to lead the world in all of this and create all of these new jobs. Now, unfortunately, I've got some bad news. According to The Australian, there is post-election support for climate change targets and renewables. Now, look, I tried to find some data on this, and I could not. So I'm not sure exactly what The Australian are talking about. The only thing that I could come anywhere close to, being data was simply the election result, in that, Peter Dutton promised 7 nuclear reactors, and instead we voted Labor. That does not necessarily mean that there is some surge in support for renewables. That's just not true. The polling data that I have seen previously always shows that cost of living is the number one issue for Australian voters.
And it was migration at third position up until the ramp up.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, that it's still all related, isn't it? I mean, cost of living is increasing, not just because of green energy, but because of increasing migration rates. So I think they're getting a little too cocky here, just pretending, just because Labor were voted in, that they have some sort of blank check to just push through whatever they want. But yeah, Labor feels emboldened right now to go ahead with these more ambitious energy projects. So we'll get through more of these as well. So, look, it's not all bad news. So, what is it? Yes. I think last week we announced, or we talked about a new wind farm that had been cancelled. Now, it turns out that, how many new wind farm developments actually started construction this year? None. None whatsoever. Even though there were several planned, you had investors pulling out because operational costs were simply too high. And what that really means is that the government wasn't giving them a subsidy big enough. That's usually what it is.
All right, so they're pulling out, they're unplugging this whole thing, and they're going to start intentionally failing the big carbon 2050 routine.
Right. Now, there was also a report put out by Rystad Energy, and they said that the cost of wind turbines in the past year or so has been skyrocketing. There's also increased uncertainty about wind farm policy, and apparently some of that has to do with the fact that the Liberal Party is currently going through this internal debate on whether or not they support net zero. I don't see why that would really have anything to do with it, though, because, I mean, Labor are in power right now, and they won by a pretty thumping majority. So I would have expected that would have actually put certainty into the market rather than create uncertainty. So I'm not sure really what they mean by that. And I should have put this story earlier. One of the other stories I've got, if you guys wanted to look at it, is just the last one under climate and energy.
All right.
It has been suggested that...
yeah.
I thought you might have something to say on this one, Nolsey, but because of the skyrocketing prices of wind turbines, Australia should instead embrace cheaper Chinese-made wind turbines that apparently are about 1/3 of the cost as compared to buying it elsewhere on the market.
Okay,
so much for us producing these fucking
material. They need constant pressure of the course of their entire blade, and this is back nearly actually. Finney, you can actually tell me 7 years ago? 70 years ago was my knowledge of how wind turbine blades were made, and how Chinese stuff was blowing up in the Americas.
Right. I mean, what is the quality of the build here?
I don't know. At this point, I don't know. But the thing is, why the fuck are we sending shit over to China? By the way, we do actually send over monofiber graphite to China. It's a mining, substrate. But anyways. Why are we sending that stuff over there to be made over there, to be sent back here as these gigantic fucking wings to explode because, we don't manage them well, and also to kill our native life and fauna?
Yeah, we should have a large fucking mincing machine sitting under these things. It'd be a lot more ecologically
sound
responsible than just leaving it all sitting under there for all the foxes and wild dogs to eat up.
I'd love putting a green activist underneath, getting her a cabin, and just putting her under a turbine and just making her pick up all the dead birds, because there's about 100 kilograms, because they suck them in. But outside of that, no, they explode, and also Chinese composites are shit.
I was going to say, you see enough stories as it is about wind turbines going on fire and stuff. And as far as I know, those ones are not...
pretty spectacular when it happens.
So aren't we just going to see much more of that if we start buying Chinese turbines?
Yes, because they're uncompressed and they've got air bubbles in beneath the laminated layers.
So we're going to see shrapnel as well as fiery explosions.
The fire is going to be harder because there's oxygen to supply it. There's compressed oxygen. Oh, God.
All right.
I'll go see my professor about this, my old professor about this again. But, holy shit, this is a bad idea.
Okay, now the independent MP Zali Stegall, she says Australia is at risk of losing revenue to foreign nations that are imposing carbon prices on fossil fuel imports.
Yeah.
So she's called for the costs of climate change to become a more central part of the government's upcoming productivity roundtable. So yeah, she's calling for a reintroduction of the carbon price, and also to have it apply to fossil fuel imports. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that the Tea will support, because their trust fund kid, Simon Holmes Accord, is heavily invested in green energy. And of course, the more taxes that you put on fossil fuels, well, the more incentive there is to invest in green energy. It's pretty simple. Okay. So in Victoria, the VNI West transmission line. This is a line that runs from New South Wales to Victoria. It's 475 kilometres long. We've spoken about this quite a few times on this show. And, well, guess what? Massive cost and time blowout, as always happens on these kind of projects. So it was previously estimated to cost $3.9 billion. Now the Australian Energy Market Operator has increased that estimate to $7.6 billion and said that it may rise as much as $11.4 billion. This is despite the fact Chris Bowen wants to tell you again and again and again that green energy is apparently the cheapest form of energy that you can possibly invest in.
Wow.
And they're not going to just give up these routines like they did with the hydrogen plants. They're going to have to finish these fucking power lines.
There was even like a energy Jew, basically, at one of these Texas energy conventions in obviously Austin, Texas, saying like, "Oh, I wish I could open up the Australian market to nuclear, at least for export. But those pansies wouldn't allow me to fucking open it up."
Okay, well, look, still on this same line, the VNI West, farmers across Victoria are saying that they will simply refuse builders to go on their property to complete it. So, as you can imagine, for a transmission line that is this big, 475 kilometres, the government has evoked eminent domain laws that says they must construct at least part of that line across private property. Okay, because remember, this is occurring throughout regional Victoria, and many farmers who, of course, have lots of lands that are very big, they've been told, no, you must actually have this transition line go through your property. Therefore, you must let the builder in to construct it in the first place. Well, a lot of the farmers are saying no, they're simply not going to allow that to happen. This is despite the fact they have been threatened with very large fines and, of course, just simply with police restraining them and forcing the builders onto their property to build the line.
Yeah, I'm going to put my money on the strategic value of this, demanding that, above all, if it comes down to it, they will shoot these farmers in order to build these bloody electric lines.
Yeah.
They did back in the 1910s.
They'll do it again.
Now, the Victorian government also said that it has plans to amend existing regulation to basically speed up the construction. In other words, they want to make it even easier to just rough ride through private property with minimal interference from that private property owner. Just what we all want, isn't it?
Well, I think it's time to rally around the tractors.
Well, there's yeah. It might get a bit hairy if those farmers fucking do get together.
I hope they do.
I like what I saw in France, where they bloody just put those tractor loads of manure and just shoot it at the fucking whoever the fuck's parliamentary houses, just sprayed it with shit.
It was the local governments, and yes, they did spray manure. The thing is, you can't really do that here in Australia. But I think, at this point, there's no recourse in government. There's no recourse in the nationals. I mean, we've talked about, how the nationals will protect, the farming, communities from this, that, and the other. They haven't. Let's be honest with ourselves. They haven't.
Nope, they're there to take up the space so that you don't protect yourself.
No.
Okay, well, we'll move on to foreign students. This is actually the only immigration story we've got for you in this episode. But anyway, the international education sector, which is like a $40 billion plus industry, I must add. They want the Labor Party to lower application fees for student visas. Apparently, we have the most expensive application fees for student visas in the world. Now, part of this was designed to curb immigration. You remember, basically the only thing the Labor Party were willing to touch to reduce net migration was foreign students. Now, there has apparently been a fall. So the previous rate of foreign students coming into the country was 35,496. In the last financial year, that has apparently fallen to 22,134. So on student visas, at least, it is having a small impact, I guess. And also from July of this year, the application fee for a student visa went up to $2,000. That was a 25% increase.
Now, so 25% increase, a third bloody cutoff. Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. They also just kind of made it harder to qualify for one as well. Now, big education, universities here are called, I don't like this, all right? Even though this is just basically a small increase, and when it comes to the difference it makes on net migration, it's basically nothing. But still, big education don't like this. But no, look, this is another source of revenue for the government. The government still supports very high migration rates, but that doesn't mean they don't want to make money off it. Of course they do.
I mean, to be fair, back in the the late 80s, at the end of the White Australia policy, one of the biggest draw-ins was, oh, I'm qualified for this, X, Y, and Z because I was a student here as a foreign student. Not for the Vietnamese, but for the Chinese, and also, yes, some parts of Croatia and the Greeks.
Yeah, but all our bloody foreign students are Chinese and Indians now. More Indians.
And yet they still bring in their Indian family. And the same laws.
Okay, so on to Aboriginal news. The Prime Minister was in East Arnhem Land for the annual Gama Festival.
Fuck off.
This is where everyone goes and, puts on traditional face paint that the Aborigines never actually used and do dances that were invented.
Some ochre on you, mate.
And you go there to talk about how Indigenous policy is failing because we never meet any of those closing the gap targets. Now, what was interesting is that the Gama Festival was not attended by the Northern Territory Chief Minister, Leah Finocchiaro. So there were speeches given at this festival that specifically targeted the Country Liberal Party and their so-called tough on crime rhetoric. Not surprising that they've targeted them there. I've said that basically the only meaningful criminal justice reforms that have occurred in Australia in recent years have actually been by the CLP government in the Northern Territory. And yes, that has meant an increase in Aboriginal arrests and incarceration. Of course it would. You enforce the law more in Northern Territory, you're going to arrest more of the people who are committing it. It's not a mystery. So does it have a disproportionate impact on the Aboriginal population? Yeah, it does. But what's the alternative? We're supposed to just let them stab to death people who work at the bottle-o, are we?
Yeah. And the bar. And the server.
Also, it shouldn't be shown on the news because that would encourage racism, especially when you admit the testimony of the victim's parents.
Right. Now, they did also point the finger at a housing shortage. Now, okay, sure, we do have a housing shortage in Australia. We're certainly not going to deny that. But in the Northern Territory, you really don't have a social housing shortage. There was actually a court ruling in the Northern Territory that basically found that even in the case that you destroy your own public housing, you have a right for it to be rebuilt.
Cool.
Meaning that the government will simply come in and pay for all the repairs, even though you were the one who broke everything in the first place.
Gee, I really don't like the shade of my room. How do I get them to change the shade of my room? Do I go to them and fill out a form saying I'd like to be able to pay? Oh no, I know. I'll fucking burn the fucking thing down, and then they'll just give me another house, and I'll let them know if it doesn't have a fucking shade of room I like, then I'm going to do it again. Yuck.
Yeah, something they've been known to do is like in the wintertime when they want to start a fire, is they'll literally just break bits of wood off the house.
As you do.
And light it up. Yeah, but they do. That is actually as they do.
Living the dream.
Winter in Northern Territory? I thought that's just cyclone season.
Oh, God, okay. So here's something that Albo announced while he was there. So he announced funding for a new First Nations economic partnership. So that is a collaboration between the Commonwealth Government and First Nations people. In other words, the people who represent these so-called Aboriginal corporations. So $75 million for native title holders and $35 million for mobile TAFE.
Mobile TAFE?
Is that because
TAFE?
So they're like, hold on, we don't have people turning up to class, so let's go to them instead. Is that
what do you bring Healthy Harold around to your place?
You know, the first I train person to press button.
Yeah,
that's it.
Oh my God, it's gotten that bad.
Yeah. We
I've
defund TAFE, by the way. The Labour Party's right. The Liberal Party defunds TAFE, around the state and etc. So that they can put more people to fund all their shit. But when it comes to foreign communities and etc., they train Aboriginals to press button. No, don't get drunk. Don't not show up for work. Just come up at midday and press button. Can you press button? Okay, good.
Yeah, no, you're not the only person I've heard that from. I know a few people who are engineers, and they have told me stories like that. And not only that, but that guy who pushes the button still has a very bad attendance record. Like, he takes sickies all the time, even though all he has to do is push a fucking button.
But then who will press the button?
The button doesn't need to be pressed.
Shut up.
Welcome to the forest industries, buddy.
God.
Welcome to Fodder Skid Metals.
Okay, so The federal Senate has passed a condolence motion for the family of Kumanjai White. I forget, this might have been in the Northern Territory again, I can't remember. But this was someone who was in the process of getting arrested. Yeah, it's an Aboriginal though. But yeah, their last name, ironically, is White.
Wasn't it Walker?
No, you're thinking of the one shot by Zachary Rolfe. This is someone else.
Okay,
they do have the same first name.
Another one.
They're both called Kumanjai. But yeah, I forget the details, but it was recorded as a death in custody. But this was one of those ones where, like, the police were simply pursuing them for whatever crime it was, and then they died. Kind of like George Floyd style. And it happens a lot because, when you've got criminals who are evading police, very often, they're very fucked up on drugs, or they just have generally been living an unhealthy lifestyle.
Would you say they're all gassed up?
Yeah. Because, dare I say it, people who have criminal proclivities generally don't look after themselves, They don't have the best, health and fitness regime. So sometimes when they get pursued by cops, they die. But it's got nothing to do with, the conditions of custody, creating death or even speeding up death. So apparently, since the 1991 Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, we have had over 600 Aborigines lose their lives.
Fucking rookie numbers. Got to pump up those numbers.
What is interesting, though, when you read these reports is you never see them actually talk about, say, percentages. Has there been an increase in Indigenous lives lost? But, my favourite stat, which I've said many times on the show, was the 1991 Royal Commission into Indigenous deaths in custody actually found that you were less likely to die while in custody if you're Aboriginal. So if you want to increase your life expectancy as an Aborigine, you're better off going to jail. And, if you think about it, it makes sense. You've got access to quick and instant healthcare while you're in jail.
Mm. You don't have access to drugs or alcohol?
Yeah.
Your liver enzymes will go down. Your liver will actually probably still survive until you're 40.
Your natural end of age limit.
Now, something that was also brought up in the Senate was that the latest Closing the Gap report finds that only 4 out of 19 targets are on track to be met. Lydia Thorpe was talking about this. And I guess somewhat surprisingly, she was saying that jurisdictions that are not up to scratch when it comes to closing the gap should actually have their funding cut.
I wonder how that'll work out.
Hold on. What, you mean the funding that they use to close the gap? How are they supposed to close the gap if they don't have any funding? Because
we should close the gap harder. So you close the gap without this money? Sure, why not?
So yeah, I don't know if Lydia Thorpe has really thought that one through, but anyway, apparently,
but we can agree with her.
Northern Territory is the worst performer. But obviously, it makes sense that the Northern Territory is the worst performer, considering, per capita anyway, they have the highest Aboriginal population in Australia. They also have the largest remote communities. And, those remote communities, they don't have anything there. That's why we come up with these ideas like mobile TAFE. It's like, okay, you won't go to the TAFE, therefore we'll make the TAFE go to you.
Bloody getting taught subjects and all that, it can happen at work, but actually going to your bloody community and TAFEing it out there, fuck. What the hell? I wonder what their biggest TAFE courses are out in the boonies.
How not to rape your sister?
I think the attendance of those classes.
It's probably counselling and like maybe like, oh yes, how to become a bricklayer, but also how to schedule a bricklayer.
So look, part of the Closing the Gap report found that Indigenous children have had an increase in the amount going into juvenile detention. And more Indigenous 6-year-olds are developmentally behind their peers. And more Indigenous children are now in out-of-home care. Yeah, the out-of-home.
That's probably an increase in their population that's just doing that.
Well, I mean, like another interesting stat I find is that there's actually more Aboriginal children put into out-of-home care now than there was during the so-called stolen generations.
Yeah.
And that really says something.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the Northern Territory, the life expectancy of Indigenous females fell in 2024. Percentage of Indigenous babies born a healthy weight also fell. There are fewer Indigenous children enrolled in Northern Territory preschools, and fewer Indigenous youth in the NT were working or studying.
So they're just feral maxing.
Fewer Indigenous adults employed, and more Indigenous adults and youth in Northern Territory prisons.
Oh, and never mind. I guess that's where they're all going. Fuck.
Well, that's the thing. That their rates of like school and work attendance is going down because they're being put in jail instead. So that would have something, directly to do with the criminal justice reforms that the Whanokhiara government have implemented. But that's good. I mean, they finally got Alice Springs under control now. It was just like Aboriginal Mad Max beforehand. So
doing those TikTok challenges.
Like
Did we play that video on the Racer Live of like that, that Aboriginal back kicking or like a donkey kicking that door on the publishing house, and then the rocks being thrown? Or did we or did we not show that?
No, I don't. That doesn't ring a bell to me.
Well, it did happen.
All right. Oh God! So they're still calling for the setting up of Australia's first Aboriginal-led truth-telling inquiry. Now they do have like a less established version of that truth-telling inquiry. Jacinta Allen has even turned up and talked about how much she learned about these atrocities that in her youth she was not aware of. But anyway, they've got the Uruk Justice Commission, and they have handed down 100 recommendations. And this comes after a 4-year inquiry that cost Victorians $56 million. And of course, one of those recommendations is including a redress scheme for historic crimes. So in other words, like these so-called massacres that occurred, that, the only evidence for them is like people who descend from some Aboriginal elder who apparently fought in some battle against Victorian police or something. If you can prove your lineage to that particular Aboriginal tribe, well, then you're in line for a compensation payout. And that's just what these are all about. They're never about anything else. It's just Gibbs.
So if you can prove it, as in, are we taking genealogical thing? Are we taking, I gave a slab of beer to this bloke and now he says I can get all this sweet, sweet money?
I was gonna say, like, did you see that ABC article? Like, I'm black fella, get me out of here.
No.
Nope. Would you like to? I know the audience can't see it, but or hear it. But would you like to?
Show it to me. Put it
Later?
in the chat or something. I'll have a look at it later. Yeah. Look, we don't usually do this, but there was an opinion column in the Australian, and it was talking about like the latest trend, particularly in WA, to go after so-called stolen wages. So, this goes back like to the beginning of the 1900s, where you had Aboriginals working on farmland and stuff like that, and apparently they weren't given enough money. Now, the point that this article, this opinion piece makes, is that the damages that have been awarded in these cases far, far exceed the amount of wages that possibly could have been so-called stolen. So this is a political tool. It's not a legal tool. If it's a legal tool, you actually simply get compensated for what was taken from you or what was owed to you but was not given to you. But in the recent decisions that have been made, we're talking multi-million-dollar payouts that are given to just individuals. So it's a scam. Even if some of this is actually justified, maybe some of them were ripped off, sure. But that doesn't entitle you to like multi-millions, does it?
Wonder where it's going.
Well, if it does, I think Ireland is like due for a gigantic payout.
Ooh.
Oh wait, it won't get that. Oh wait, the Pictish and the Scottish won't get that. Oh wait, it's like the Laplandish won't get that. Again, there's a cascading of fall of people that won't get this kind of treatment. Sorry, just give me a hot second. There we go. I will send you it as a URL.
Okay, I'll have a look. Now, we're moving on to crime, but we're still very much staying...
Not going very far.
Yeah, we're not really changing topics here. So the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture is investigating claims made by human rights lawyers in Australia that the Northern Territory's youth crime crackdown constitutes torture.
I'm sorry, it's the rocket that I sent you.
Yeah. So land councils, lawyers, and Indigenous organisations want the Commonwealth Government to place conditions on the Northern Territory's funding. And the reason for this is the Whanakiaria government's policies that have bloated Northern Territory's youth detention network. There's been an increase in juveniles being locked up and adults being locked up. There's no question about that. It's exactly what you would expect if you actually start enforcing the law in the Northern Territory. But,
well, there's the thing of how would you prove that you're not treating everybody equally in this front?
Yeah. Now, if you look at the UN definition of torture, it's not things like removing fingernails with a pair of pliers. All right, it's like just being in your cell for too long, stuff like that.
Living conditions, ability to go pray, getting out there and exercising, sun.
Now, I mean, look, as we've covered many times, prison officers have been so thoroughly demonized, and police have been so thoroughly demonized in the media that no one wants to work these jobs anymore. It's also shitty conditions. The pay isn't all that good. So what do you expect?
We're imprisoning brutal fucking animals.
Yeah. they were considering hiring private security guards for a while for Northern Territory jails. I think
bring in some black waters to run these fucking things.
Yeah.
Well, that would scare the shit out of them.
There's been an explosion in the private security industry in the Northern Territory because it's just sort of accepted in many of these areas that the police are not going to protect you. So you've got to provide your own security.
Doesn't this happen, the exact same thing in South Africa?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've got a huge private security, and they just beat the fuck out of people, you know.
Oh yeah, beat their feet
until it's illegal.
Yeah, but they do it anyway.
I mean, it works.
I remember that bloody Louis Theroux covered that in South Africa.
Oh, that was quality. Quality watching that happen. Just looking at this fucking.
I'd like to beat his feet.
Building, this building that was taken over by some gangs and sending these fucking security company to retake over the place. Bloody hell.
Okay.
Yes, you're seeing a bit of that in the US, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So here was a story we were supposed to cover last week, and that is that the Northern Territory Parliament has made a number of amendments to the Youth Justice Act, and that includes the reinstating of spit hoods.
Finally they can protect their fucking self from getting spat on all day and night.
Now, all this is a hood that's put on the detainee to stop them from spitting and biting staff. Okay, and that's all it ever was. It doesn't restrict your breathing or anything like that. The controversy over this erupted when a photo leaked. God knows who actually leaked the photo, what kind of a traitor that was, but of this little fuckwit called Dylan Voller, who's and
he is white, by the way.
He is white. And certainly at that point in time, like, he was the most notorious youth criminal in the Northern Territory. And I remember when he got out, he actually moved to WA. I don't know where he is.
Your problem now.
So that got out, and yeah, there was this outrage, and people were saying that they were implementing torture against the juveniles and everything. And then, of course, they banned it because Labor were in power then. And then it had a domino effect. Other states started to ban it as well, which means that as like an officer dealing with these people, it was simply illegal for you to protect yourself against someone spitting at you and biting you.
Yeah, not going to get paid enough to get spat on.
So, good. I'm glad they actually went back on this. I was not expecting this. I thought, the symbolism of this is like too powerful, but no, they've actually backed it up. So that's good. Okay, now, Northern Territory coroner released a report on the Northern Territory's domestic violence problem. Remember, they have the highest rate of domestic violence in the country. I don't think I need to explain why. And this report or this investigation was triggered by the deaths of 4 Aboriginal women who were killed by their partners. There's actually a huge number in the northwest of Australia, here in WA, huge number of Aboriginal women who have simply gone missing and no one knows what happened to them. In most cases, they suspect that their partner just killed them and then dumped the body somewhere. Happens all the time.
Traditionally.
But of course, when Zachary Rolfe shoots one dead in self-defense, then the whole nation has to stop and pay attention.
Well, I'd
and
like to say,
up money on inquiries.
When violence does occur, it's mostly intraracial, as in it only occurs within your race. Mostly fucking rare that I guess you find it extra-racial violence happening. So yeah, bloody as much as they jump over fences and fuck up cars, They do it just because they're in proximity to other that much that they don't even have cars anymore.
How much Aboriginal on white violence do we have in this country? I'll fucking
as much as proximity allows.
There's an enormous amount. I worked with this Asian girl who got bashed on the Armidale line here in Perth.
Yes.
And all her handbag and her money and everything stolen. And that's just one story I've heard. Okay, well that's not white violence, I know, but I just mean Aborigines will target people of other races all the time. To steal their shit or just to have a bit of fun.
I was punched in the head like 5 times before I went and bought my first car so I could go to university because I lived north of the river and I went to a university south of the river.
Yeah. But yeah. There goes the thing that...
And then I started an Aboriginal sucking each other's dick, and by the way, it wasn't fucking heterosexual.
Yeah. So, anyway, the Minister for Domestic Violence in the Northern Territory said that the latest report handed down by the coroner is uninspiring. So
that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm inspired by this coroner's report. Oh wait, the coroner. That's not a mortician. Never mind. Fucking keep getting that mixed up.
Well, apparently, the reason why she's saying this is because it took a long time. The report ended up being very long, but actually saying and recommending very little. And apparently 24 of the 35 recommendations that the report made are actually already in place. So this seems like another example.
After all that.
This is where you've got a body of government who has been given a task and been given X amount of money, and then they find that there's actually not very much work for them to do, so they just have to come up with something. So they come up with this lengthy report that just repeats information we already know, just as a way of, justifying the amount of funding they were given. Not an uncommon thing. But they're saying leading legal representatives in the Northern Territory are very unhappy about this because they see this as like an unprofessional attack on the coroner's office. Well. But I'd also just say it's like, look, what do you need a report for? Aborigines are violent, and therefore a lot of Aboriginal men are going to kill their partners. That's it. Like, don't need an inquiry to figure this out.
How can we spin this towards it being whitey? You can't. They're way out in the boonies. Only whitey you got there is the admixture. And the mobile TAFEries.
Now, in moving over to Queensland, David Crisafulli, who of course is the LNP Premier, apparently has been fudging numbers when it comes to the amount of victims of crime in the state. Now, it's not surprising that he might be motivated to do so, because he actually said that in the event that the victims of crime numbers went up in Queensland, that he would actually resign as Premier. Okay? That's quite a promise to make. Now, I won't go through all the details here, but apparently University of Queensland have looked at the data sets that he's been using, where he claims that the number of victims has fallen by 5.7% in the state. And, it says here that, he relied on 2 unrelated data sets using incompatible metrics and incomplete data. So
that's a lovely creative lawyer speak into why, yes, I don't have to quit. Look. fucking 5.7% fall. Well, he's earning his pay, isn't he? Fuck.
Now, I mean, they brought back the old, bail laws. Well, actually, Queensland Labor brought back the old bail laws, and then I think the LNP just kind of went one step further. But the LNP has not gone anywhere near the extent of what they've done in the Northern Territory. In the Northern Territory, they have actually made some real meaningful reforms. That has, yes, put more people in jail, but also decreased the crime level. Like I said, like Alice Springs is no longer some hellhole just ruled by Aboriginal criminals. It's actually under control now. So, dare I say they haven't gone far enough. But also, Queensland tends to have a lot of Pacific Islanders and increasing amounts of Africans too, of course.
Mm.
The bail laws that Labor actually brought back in, they were done after that 70-year-old grandmother was stabbed to death by Sudanese Crim, who was out on bail.
I still love that he was actually sentenced.
He stole her car, and in the process of it, he stabbed her to death with a knife.
Yes.
And he was out on bail at the time.
How do they like to punish their people? Some sort of fucking spear throwing thing. If you get hit, then yep, you're guilty, and there's the punishment. If you don't get hit, you're innocent. Except the guy throwing it's really good with the fucking spear.
Yeah, Aborigines do that. I don't know if Sudanese do.
East Africans, no. East Africans, they just tend to kill and cut.
Okay, they love using machetes, don't they?
Yes,
when they can afford them.
Oh god, something I saw was like you know how you have like safe syringe deposit boxes.
Oh god, yes, the 2020.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now they use them for machetes.
Oh, in the UK.
I love Australia.
Here, Australia.
You fucking what, mate?
It's here. It's, by the way, we've got.
I'll hook you in the gabba. Fucking get a life, bin that machete.
Just voluntarily hand in your machete in this deposit bin. What a joke!
But you're talking about those needles, and I'm reminded of this story out of bloody Los Angeles of the muggers. They're no longer kind of threatening with your knife. They got a needle, and they say, "Hey, give me your bloody wallet, or otherwise I'll stick you with this thing," and you get the AIDS. Fuck.
Okay, now it may surprise you to know that there has been an increase in gangland warfare in Australia over the control of a particular illicit trade. And it's not heroin, it's not methamphetamine, it's not even marijuana. It is illegal tobacco. Oh. So there has been
purely created by the government, this crisis.
Yes, no, absolutely. So there has been an increase in fire bombings and tit for tat action against between rival gangs, and I believe even some gangland Kingpin was killed as well. But yeah, now they reckon that in Australia, around 50% of all tobacco sold here is sold illegally. And that's among Australia's 2.7 million smokers. That's apparently what we've got here.
Yeah, because fucking cost of living and the opportunity not to go broke to have a pack of ciggies, even though you regret it.
Pack of cigarettes, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I know that the vast majority of the cost is tax. It's not imposed by the tobacco company themselves. If you did not have tax on it, a pack of smokes would actually be pretty cheap. It'd be a pretty affordable habit for you to have. Now, at the same time, apparently nicotine consumption in Australia, which includes legal smokes, illegal smokes, and vaping, and then I believe other stuff like nicotine gum and that kind of thing, is actually at an all-time high in Australia. So if the purpose of these taxes is to actually discourage people from smoking or from consuming nicotine-based products, it's failing, while at the same time driving organised crime that is said to be making about $10 billion a year in illegal tobacco revenue.
Tell you what, through media, bloody stories, bloody your Netflix, your telly, and your movies, a lot of people are just smoking, using drugs, stimming themselves up. It's come the norm as well. So, bloody using drugs doesn't seem that alarming nowadays in the media.
No, it doesn't. And instead we just want to roll out things like pill testing at music festivals, so you can see the quality of the gear you bought. How fucked up will this pill make me? Well, the free pill testing will tell me.
I guess it's just a transition into making these things legal. And that's going to ruin a society like nothing else.
It's almost like you put A and point B together.
So the next
designer drug and pills in a commercial future, eh? Make your own.
So the final story we've got under crime here, I'll basically have to hand it over to you guys on this, but the Australian Federal Police Commissioner, Reece Kershaw, has retired early, and now we have the Deputy Commissioner, Chrissy Barrett. She will replace him, and she'll become the first woman ever to lead the AFP.
Would you like to start, Fluoride?
You're the one in the know, but on top of you telling us earlier, most likely reason this bloke has lost the plot and decided to fucking just retire early, even though fucking doing perfectly well is he's the bloke who did the whole announcement thing on the what you doing, the truck of what you doings. He was the one who put out the thing saying, the caravan of what you're doings.
Well, then I'll take over. Well, I do believe that the AFP fucking head did resign because he did let slip that there was a whole bunch of Mossad agents operations that were going on, and he actually let the idea that he outside of domestic, it was meant to be domestic anti-Semitism. Sorry. Outside of oh god, I'm incredibly fucked.
But yeah, basically, he put the suggestion in the public's ear that it wasn't local homegrown bloody Albanians. It was international crime ring that put it forward. This is going theory of why the heck you would just quit.
Funded by an international state operative.
Bloody crypto coin field team used to pay for crimes, as you'd imagine. And
that AFP chief actually let that slip. So, the hoax of the caravan, the hoax of the fire bombings, etc. He did let that slip. Say oh look, it was done by local crime. It was done by etc. And also, it was funded by international agents.
Yeah. Even though we only arrested one person who was a former member of the Nomads bikie gang, and conveniently he was an Arab. But even in that case, he was basically taking orders from overseas and getting paid from overseas. And then he was subcontracting the work to other crims in Australia. As far as I know, he's still the only person to have been arrested over that. And
And there's a reason we don't know about it. We haven't fucking... You'd think it'd be in the public's interest to know everything about where did he get his arch and all that from, in order to alleviate the worries of the communitas. But I guess no. Just fucking... If you talk about it, wham bam, thank you, man, you retire. Out of nowhere.
Yeah. And, I'd love to talk to Mark Latham about this stuff, because this is essentially the story that, red-pilled him. If he is actually genuinely red-pilled on the Jewish question now.
No.
And I think you don't think so? Well, his Twitter feed suggests that he is, but, that really came after
we both know better.
All of this was exposed as a hoax, He was one of the few people who said, okay, we need to repeal these new laws because they were based on an incident that wasn't even real.
Nope. Best we can do is go even further into the lie.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to state politics. We still don't have a government that's been formed in Tasmania. So the Premier, Jeremy Rockliff, says that he still can form a minority government without any formal deals with crossbenchers. No, you can't. How could you? What? That doesn't make any sense. You can't do that.
A memorandum of understanding that we should form a government in minority, but I'm not promise anything.
Yeah.
What a shit show.
Yeah, if you did that, that would actually be like an autocratic rule that you've established in the state. Like where you've essentially become a dictator and
fuck it. Do it and do good for the thing for the time you got, and then get out and say, yep, look at all I did for this. No fucking no deals were done. You should be thanking me.
Yeah, so I don't know what the hell he means when he says that. But anyway, the other story we had, this was somewhat surprising to me. It's the first ever openly gay Labor senator in Tasmania. So his name is Josh DeLiga. And of course, that was the focus of his maiden speech in Parliament after being...
I'm gay.
Yeah.
I'm so fabulous. Did he come out with fucking Elton John glasses?
He wants to give a sense of hope to young queer people in Tasmania, including those who have ambitions to enter politics. He said that he was bullied.
They all are.
He said he was bullied as a young person.
Not enough.
He probably was, but probably not because he was gay. Probably just because he acted like a dick. If I look back on like the people I went to high school with, like the ones that I found out later, turned out gay, like every one of them, I was like, oh yeah, he was a dickhead. Didn't like that guy. And yes, a lot of them were bullied, but it didn't have anything to do with them being gay because they were like still in the closet back then. It's just something I found. Like the gay people that I have met have been generally unpleasant people to be around. So dare I say that's why he was bullied.
Yep, the debauchery is high class. Of course.
What did he do before he entered Parliament? Well, he was an organizer for the CPSU, the gayest union in the country.
What is the CPSU? I hope it's not what I think it is.
It's a public sector union.
The MISC.
So if you're not part of like, the police or the nurses or something, you're just like a miscellaneous bureaucrat, you're covered by the CPSU.
Perfect place to hide in the closet for, I guess. Till you can sneak into power and make a gay-ass speech.
So let's go to the WA Liberal Party. Now, we covered last week that a motion was passed by the WA Liberals to scrap net zero and also to scrap welcome to country and acknowledgement of country. Now, Andrew Hastie, he is the member for Canning, federal member, and some say potential future leader of the Liberal Party. He was very happy with that. He's apparently from the hard right of the Libs. But someone who did not like this was our leader of the WA branch, Basil Zemplis. So, despite the fact this motion passed, Basil Zemplis is not committing the state branch to opposing net zero. Why, Basil? Your own members wanted this. The electorate, I would argue, even most Labour voters want this because they don't want their power prices to go up. And so a bit of a war of words has occurred between Andrew Hastie and Basil Zemplis over this. And this, I think, in a way, this shows Basil Zemplis's inexperience. This is a guy who was never passionate about politics. He kind of found himself there by accident,
Oh no, not the other one. He's going to become Prime Minister before long.
He saw an opportunity to become Lord Mayor of Perth. He took it, mainly based on his fame.
You may find yourself as a Lord Mayor of Perth.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, because we all knew him as like a sports commentator and a radio host beforehand. I mean, I never really paid attention to him, but if you live in WA, you would have heard of him. He's not famous outside of WA at all.
No, I haven't heard of him.
I loved him when he talked down like, oh God, the Subiaco Oval is going to be destroyed. Oh, I don't like that. Also, I'm incredibly involved in the Optus Stadium.
But if you're not a conviction politician, if you don't believe in it, then you're bound to end up just taking on milquetoast positions. And that includes things like net zero and welcome to country. So, he doesn't have any fire in the belly to take a principled stance on any of this. So he just has to go with the mainstream on it.
Just a celebrity politician.
Yes.
Well, I guess when you think of celebrity politicians, a lot of them are usually artists. Bloody songwriters and all that wipe out there on my TV. And yeah, those people, you're probably in it and you're passionate on pot, but you got all sorts of interest in all that. The governor who fucked their
who only had like a marginal interest in politics. He called himself a Republican, but he was never really passionate. And then when he became governor, he turned out to be a very middle of the road Republican. And nowadays, he said that he wants to take on big oil companies. That's like his new mission.
It's a terrible idea. How the hell are you going to create war in the fucking Middle East and in Ukraine if you fuck up your oil supply?
So look, Basil Zemplis has also been called a loser by Advance Australia. So they're the conservative lobby group. So
I may be a loser, but at least I'm not rude.
Advance Australia have said that they would target coalition MPs that do not embrace its positions, and that includes opposing net zero. So, what they mean here is like they support the pre-selection of a more conservative MP, and so that could even include the leader of the Liberal Party here. He's not up to scratch, according to Advance. So that can cause some future headaches for them because, they've probably got no chance of winning the next election. They've got to play the long game and aim for the election after that, So they've got to wait for like a full 8 years. But yeah, that's just the way it is in WA. We kind of effectively don't have an opposition in this country because the coalition is so small.
Well, fuck. I think that would mean a positive thing that people could actually make use of their time and push it forward, but I doubt it.
Right. Okay, so just a couple of stories to finish off. I'm sorry to talk about this guy again, Gareth Ward. He's the guy who was found guilty of multiple sex offences against boys, as in like minors. believe it or not, he is still refusing to resign from Parliament. So there has been a motion to expel him from the Parliament.
Hopefully from a cannon into the sun.
Well, unfortunately not. But I mean, look, he'll be going to jail anyway. He hasn't been sentenced yet. But this will be the first time in over 100 years that anyone has been forcibly expelled from the New South Wales Parliament. Now, showing again how stubborn he is, he has released a statement confirming that he will appeal his convictions on multiple sex offences. So there was a deadline on this that recently passed, so he got his application in on time, and he'll be fighting this. So I guess he won't be sentenced for some time to come now.
Or if he's got the money. And as being an MP, you'd have the money. See if you can pull his way out of that fucking charge.
And by the way, if you're brave enough, just have a look at a picture of Gareth Ward. You will instantly think pedophile when you see it.
He's got that parliamentary phenotype.
It's just, you'll know what I mean when you when you see him. Okay, so on national security, Mike Burgess, who is the ASIO director, he's saying that foreign espionage in Australia is costing us at least $12.5 billion a year. And he also says that ASIO has disrupted 24 significant espionage and foreign interference operations in Australia in the last 3 years. How many of those do you think actually involved Israel, Mossad? Because they won't ever reveal the details. ASIO obviously are...
Oh, you mean the ones they stopped? Probably a faint, very tiny few. Again, you're supposed to let those ones get through the cracks.
Yeah. I mean, they very rarely... Well, I mean, they don't ever really give you any details of these operations.
Yeah, it's not in the public interest to know about the details of these fucking foreign espionage, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can argue that in the short term it isn't because of immediate national security concerns, but after a few years you should at least lift the lid on some of them. And I'd love to see how many actually involve Israel.
The I think the Kennedy case over with Trump releasing it and all that came out all blank to buggery and back. So I don't really trust in future time that the interests will have faded away of not letting you know what the fuck's going on. But no, it's probably pretty important to know who and why and over what reasons your state is being attacked by. You'd think. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to hear your guys' take on this story.
I'm a giant greenie.
This is on the greyhound industries in the greyhound racing. So in Tasmania, there was a race where this dog called Raider's Guide had to be euthanized because of a fall that it had during the race. And if you look at the speed that these dogs run at, you can tell how a fall. If you're going at that speed and then you suddenly trip, a fall can be pretty catastrophic for you.
It's like horse racing.
Yeah. So they had to put this dog down. Now, in New South Wales and also, in Wales, as in the actual part of the UK, Wales.
In New Zealand and Wales. Yeah, I can see how that's going to fuck you right the fuck up.
that you confused me there. Yeah, New Zealand and Wales, as in the part of the UK, have actually moved to ban greyhound racing altogether. Now, look, I am actually sympathetic here. I like animals myself. People have probably heard my show interrupted numerous times by my cat. I'm definitely not a radical vegan or anything like that, but I do believe in basic animal welfare. And I don't think these dogs are treated very well. And, they're usually owned by fucking bookies who are generally pieces of shit. So, they're the type who'll host like a cockfight, as in roosters, like fighting to the death, that kind of shit.
Or even dog fights, which is what pit bulls are made for. And bite in the face of cows. But here's the thing is, hey, we love our fucking bureaucracy here. We love harassing people and all that. All right, we'll set up a thing of people who maintain the lifestyle of these animals. That's fucking easy, right? You love setting up all these things, looking into all these and making sure they're being treated well. That's fucking easy, right? No, let's just ban it. What the fuck? You would find so many fucking passionate people, so many lovely hippie people who would love to do this job. And, they're not just going to tick that or even take bribes. They find the smallest bit of impropriety with these animals and they're going to probably set fire to the guy's house themselves. So why do you need to ban it all when you can have really passionate, there you go, an Aryan bloody people looking at these people saying you're never allowed to own animals again and take all their animals and rehome them or even re-put them into other people's kennels for them to race them until you have quality people with animals with lovely lives going forward, while also being, because these animals, they're for hunting, right? That's their original purpose. Nowadays, they're just for racing. We breed them to race. We breed them to go fast. If you stop the practice, just like we did here in New South Wales, as opposed to New Zealand and Wales, then well, what happened here? You got a whole lot of adoptions of these animals. So a lot of people walking them around on their. You have special bloody special. These are hunting dogs. If they get off their lead, they could run down and bite a person. So they got little muzzles on. But the ones that didn't get rehomed, didn't get and all that during the time they had banned it for a bit, they were all put down. It's just like, oh, you want to stop people from eating chickens or eating pigs? The pigs are going to be put down. If I can genocide of the pigs, genocide of the greyhounds. If you put an end to the sports practice of greyhound racing, and I think that's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I very often see people walking greyhounds. And the reason why is because those are rescue dogs. After they're a certain age, they're not the best racers they used to be, and then they just don't want them anymore. So it's up to people to adopt them after that.
Yep.
Which
there's a huge spurt of that here in New South Wales after they banned it. Everybody I've asked about and talked about it believes it was for is it called Wetherill Park? It's right near the fish markets here in Sydney. There's this big plot of land it's a greyhound racing track, and they tried to ban it in order to grab that property cheaply. The people who own that property fucking crossed their arms and sat there and waited until the ban to be undone and then raced again. So that was an attempt on them there. I wonder if it's another attempt there. They've got a lovely big old greyhound race park somewhere in Tasmania, and they want to grab that property by making it legal for a couple of months and then bringing it back in so that they get the property and then they get to keep profiting from greyhound racing after a fuck ton of the greyhounds are fucking put down, because these people don't care about that. They care about, can we get our hands on some sort of property? It's like the old days of prohibition before the US routine of when the church would take bribes probably straight to the priest and said, hey, bring all your people out and bloody protest this so we can buy up the stills cheaply and we'll give you some of the profits. That happened in the old days. And this is another way of doing it. Who could disagree with the welfare of these animals, except they're going to be put right the fuck down.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've just got one story left. This caught my eye just earlier today. We've covered several times on this show that there are declining numbers of people signing up for military service in Australia, be it in the Air Force, the Navy, whatever. It's just a declining rate. Now, believe it or not, the ADF has announced that full-time personnel levels have been given their biggest single-year increase in 15 years.
Wow.
So they're putting this down too. Now, what could possibly be causing this? Apparently, it is targeted advertising on social media, in particular TikTok, and online video games. Now, I know that like Call of Duty had been used as a platform for advertising in America. I guess that makes sense. They're like, hey, would you like to actually do this in real life? Join up. So I guess that's maybe what they're doing in Australia as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, how many of those people, though, considering they're video game players and TikTok users, are actually going to be physically capable of meeting the demands of the ADF?
Well, here's the fun thing: is to blow at them. But I will say that I have seen advertisements on I'm playing my mobile game. You have to click advertisements in order to get more points. It's a funny thing that, but I wouldn't say it's entirely just advertising on there, because I have been advertised to in person by my friends who are in the army, who are probably who are basically saying, hey, you gonna join?
Hey, buddy, would you like to join the RAF? Etc. And I told you, like, I don't want to die for Israel.
Funny thing, I said much the same thing, and then I started talking about hey, where the hell are all our Abrams tanks? Oh, they're all in Ukraine being and they basically go to say, oh, we're getting replaced. They're gonna get replaced.
Oh, it's okay, buddy. Like you can join up.
But yeah, I think a lot of people the people who already work there are getting told kind of just like, you're on War Thunder, you invite a friend, you get a whole bunch of gold eagles. Well, I bet it's just a heck of a lot of incentivizing, because word by mouth is the most effective one, and if your friends are advertising it too, which they did for me.
Yeah. Same for me as a pilot, yeah.
So yeah, I reckon it's a big old campaign within the military. Oi, convert your friends to militaries. We'll give you a bonus. They don't have to succeed or anything. They just have to come in and start having a go at being a reservist or something.
Okay, so it wouldn't actually be that physically taxing for them.
If you're a female, you get off scot-free on a bit more.
They always lower the physical requirements of females. That's for everything, like the police force, whatever. Like,
cool.
Which is why you see these wiry, thin, short female police officers. You just think, what good would you fucking be, like, if you in restraining like a violent criminal?
Well, that's the point. They're there to go after. Oh, there was this fucking thing. It's done to the tune of Rocky, and it's two really, kind of stocky short guys, basically trying to tackle this guy. He's got one hand on the handlebar of his quad bike, and the Rocky theme's playing on in the background. And this man slowly struggles up on top of his quad bike with two police holding this guy down, and he manages to ride off into the distance like a legend. So.
I'll say opinion, like I was celebrating like a small little anniversary with a new lady, and we went to a steakhouse, etc. It's great, but I was like, hey, look, we arrive a little bit earlier than our reservation, etc. So I was like, hey, let's look at the city. Let's look at Forest Chase. And there was there's the paddy wagon that's at Forest Chase all the time, and two women literally got out of the fucking paddy wagon. And I was like, oh, okay. So, lady, do you think that they could pick me up and throw me against a wall at all, or pick me up at all? And she said, no, I don't think they could pick you up at all.
I guess they're effective against people who follow the law. I guess.
to accept the handcuffs.
Well, sure. It would be rude not to.
Okay, guys.
Anyway.
That is where we will leave it. We may or may not return at the same time next week. I'm not sure. That still ended up being a pretty long episode.
Oh, we didn't hit the 3-hour mark, did we?
No, not quite. But we had quite a few pages less of prep. But that's all good. So, yeah, guys, if you want to check out all our links and stuff, racer.biz or the racer.biz/donate if you want to maybe throw a bit of Bitcoin our way. Yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.